Tonight's story from Scary Voice will take you to a place most people can never see, where shadows only whisper and the truth sends chills down your spine. Story number 1, Vanished on Red Pine Trail. Red Pine Trail, located deep within the forests of Montana's Bitterroot National Park, has always been known among locals as deceptively beautiful. Towering pines stretch for miles, sunlight barely reaches the forest floor, and the air carries the sharp scent of moss and earth. Hikers are warned to stick to marked paths, but that advice doesn't always prevent tragedy. In the summer of 2012, a group of 4 friends, Emma, Luke, Sarah, and Jake, set out on a weekend backpacking trip. They had planned to camp at the end of the Red Pine Loop, a 12-mile trail that winds through dense forest and occasional cliffs. All 4 were experienced hikers, and none were aware that the trail had a dark reputation. Over the past 15 years, at least 5 people had disappeared mysteriously in that same area, all leaving behind personal belongings, but no bodies. The group started early on a Friday morning, documenting their journey with handheld cameras and GoPros. The first several miles were uneventful. Birds chirping, sunlight filtering through the canopy, the smell of damp pine needles. But as they approached the trail's midpoint, the forest began to change. The pines grew taller and more twisted, the underbrush thicker, the path narrowed, and patches of fog crept along the ground, even though the day was warm. Around 3 p.m., Luke suggested taking a side trail he had noticed on the map. He said, "It'll cut about 2 miles off the loop." Sarah hesitated, but eventually agreed. The side trail, barely wide enough for one person, descended steeply into a gorge. At first, the scenery was breathtaking. A small stream trickled over moss-covered rocks, and the light glimmered off wet leaves. But then things started to feel off. Emma noticed the birds had gone silent. The stream sounded oddly muffled, and the usual chatter of insects had stopped. She whispered to Jake, "It's too quiet, like the forest itself is holding its breath." But Luke, however, pressed on, assuring everyone it was normal. But soon they came upon a strange sight. Footprints, not human, but strangely humanoid, imprinted in the damp soil near the stream. They were larger than any human foot, with elongated toes, and disappeared into the trees, as if whoever or whatever made them could vanish into thin air. The group exchanged uneasy glances. "Maybe it's a bear," suggested Sarah. Jake shook his head. "No bear walks like that. Look at the spacing and the stride. It's wrong." Despite the warning signs, they continued. As evening fell, the fog thickened. Visibility dropped to less than 10 feet. The friends decided to set up camp near a clearing beside the stream. Luke and Jake pitched the tent, while Emma and Sarah gathered firewood. It was then they heard it. A low, guttural whisper echoing through the trees. Faint at first, almost like the wind, but unmistakably a voice. "Go back." Emma froze. "Did you hear that?" Probably just the wind, but his voice lacked conviction. The whisper returned, this time closer. "Don't leave." The friends huddled together. Their GoPro footage later showed the fog curling unnaturally around them, forming shapes that seemed humanoid, crouching low near the tree line. By 10 p.m., they decided to stay awake in shifts. Around midnight, Luke took the first watch. He claimed he saw something moving through the fog, a tall, thin figure, almost completely black, gliding silently over the forest floor. When he called out, it vanished, leaving only the faint sound of footsteps echoing in multiple directions at once. By 1:30 a.m., the first disappearance occurred. Emma awoke to find Luke's side of the tent empty. His backpack and boots were gone. Panic set in. The remaining 3 called his name repeatedly, but only the whispering answered, "Join us." They tore the tent down and searched for hours. By 3 a.m., Sarah noticed a trail of elongated footprints leading away from the clearing, fading into the fog. Following them cautiously, they discovered something horrifying. Luke's camera lay in the mud, still recording. The footage captured him walking in circles, talking to unseen figures, then staring straight at the lens with wide-open, terrified eyes before the camera cut out abruptly. As dawn approached, Emma, Sarah, and Jake decided to retreat to the main trail. But the forest had changed. Trees seemed to shift subtly, paths twisted in ways that made no sense, and the landmarks they had memorized the previous day were gone. Hours later, they stumbled upon an abandoned ranger cabin. No one had been there in years, yet inside, they found Luke's belongings neatly arranged on a table. Boots polished, backpack folded, but there was no sign of Luke himself. When they returned to the park headquarters, authorities were skeptical, but found the cabin exactly as the trio described. Rangers reviewed the GoPro footage. The camera captured fleeting shadows in every frame, shapes moving impossibly fast, leaving no trace of disturbance on the ground. Forensic analysis found that the footprints were unlike any known species. Not human, not bear, not elk. Nothing matched. Luke was never found. His disappearance remains an unsolved case, and hikers are still warned about the Red Pine Trail. Locals now tell a chilling story that certain areas of the forest are alive, feeding on the unwary, and that those who hear the whispers may never leave.
Story number 2. Lost in Whispering Pines. Whispering Pines National Park, located in northern Idaho, is a sprawling forested area spanning over 200,000 acres of dense pine and fir trees, cliffs, and hidden lakes. It is breathtakingly beautiful, but over the decades, it has earned a reputation among rangers and locals for something far darker. Many hikers enter, but not all return. The park's official records show dozens of missing persons over the past 30 years, many of whom vanished without a trace. In late September 2015, a solo hiker named Michael Anders set out on a week-long trek through the park. Michael was experienced, in his early 30s, and had backpacked extensively through national parks across the western United States. He was meticulous. He carried topographic maps, GPS, survival gear, and a satellite phone. Friends described him as careful, rational, and fearless. Michael's plan was simple: hike the Ridge Loop, a 50-mile trail circling the central part of the park with the intention of camping at isolated lakes along the way. He began on September 22nd, leaving early in the morning. For the first 3 days, Michael's journey went smoothly. He recorded video logs each evening, documenting wildlife, streams, and breathtaking sunsets. The forest was dense but beautiful. Sunlight streamed through the pine canopy. The air smelled of moss and fresh pine, and the distant sound of waterfalls created a serene ambiance. On the 4th day, however, the atmosphere shifted. Michael recorded a short clip describing what he noticed. "I'm about halfway through the Ridge Loop. The trail's becoming less distinct. I keep losing the markers, but I'm following my compass. The trees, they feel different here. The wind moves strangely, like the forest is listening." Later that afternoon, Michael encountered the first unusual phenomenon. A small, isolated pond appeared on his map, but when he reached the location, the pond was not there. Instead, he found a muddy clearing the size of a football field, entirely devoid of vegetation. What caught his attention and terrified him were the footprints surrounding the clearing. They were large, humanoid, yet distorted, elongated toes, impossibly long stride, and some prints appearing to twist unnaturally in the mud, as if the walker had walked sideways or backward in parts. Michael's video log showed him speaking in a tense whisper. "I don't know what made these. I've never seen anything like them. There's nothing around. No wildlife, no people, nothing. It's wrong." He pressed onward, but the forest itself seemed to change. Trails that led in one direction during the day appeared to shift when he returned, loops forming that should not have existed. Rocks he passed seemed to move subtly, moss patterns altered, and distant cliffs disappeared from view. By the evening of the 5th day, Michael set up camp near a small stream. He pitched his tent and cooked a quick meal, but something felt off. The air was heavy, oppressive, and colder than the temperature suggested. The wind carried whispers, faint at first, almost indistinguishable from the rustling of the trees. Around 11 p.m., the whispers became clearer. "Michael, come." He froze. The voice was unexpectedly human, but ethereal, almost echoing from every direction at once. He grabbed his flashlight, sweeping the area, but saw nothing. Only the dense forest, shifting shadows, and faint patches of fog crawling over the ground. Michael documented the night in his camera. Footage later revealed subtle, horrifying anomalies. Figures appeared at the edges of the frame, almost human but not fully. Shadows moved independently of objects. Trees appeared warped, bending slightly toward the tent as if observing him. At 2:17 a.m., something happened that would ultimately end Michael's journey. The tent's entrance flapped violently, as if something had grabbed it. He unzipped it, shining the flashlight outside. Nothing. But the compass he had checked that morning now spun wildly, circling erratically without settling north. He ventured out, calling his own name to reassure himself. That's when he noticed something unusual. A trail of footprints, similar to those at the clearing, leading away from his campsite. They weren't just in the mud. They seemed to emerge from the forest floor itself, as if materializing in real time. Compelled by curiosity or something darker, Michael followed the trail. The forest grew darker, colder, almost unreal. He filmed continuously, his breath visible in the frosty air despite September temperatures. The trail led to a narrow canyon. At its mouth he paused, noticing a wall of fog thicker than any natural mist. From within it he heard multiple whispers, overlapping, pleading, and sometimes angry. "Stay. Join. Forever." Michael's last recorded footage shows him stepping into the fog. His camera captures distorted figures, humanoid, flickering like shadows in a storm, moving impossibly fast, and sometimes partially transparent. One frame captured what appeared to be dozens of faces pressed against the fog at the canyon's entrance, all staring directly at the camera. The timestamp at that moment showed 2:18 a.m., matching the same time of the last audio recording. Theories about Michael's disappearance vary. Park officials maintain that he may have fallen into the canyon or been lost in the dense forest, but search parties found no signs of a fall, struggle, or remains. Locals, however, whisper a more sinister explanation: that part of Whispering Pines is alive, not in a metaphorical sense, but literally. Certain areas, particularly deep in the forest and around the canyon, seem to have a consciousness, a hunger. The missing are never truly gone. They are absorbed, their echoes lingering as whispers in the wind, their shapes appearing in recordings, forever trapped in the forest's labyrinth. To this day, hikers are warned: if you hear whispers while alone in the dense forest or see humanoid shadows at the corner of your vision, stop. Don't follow the trail. And never enter the fog. Those who ignore the warnings never return. Michael Anders remains officially listed as missing. His last GoPro footage circulates online, a chilling reminder of the forest's hunger, capturing for all time the moment a human vanished into something that defies natural law.
Story number 3. The Vanishing at Shadow Creek. Shadow Creek National Park, stretching across the rugged mountains of Colorado, is a remote wilderness known for its dense forests, hidden canyons, and jagged cliffs. For hikers and campers, it offers breathtaking views and challenging terrain, but it also carries a chilling reputation. Over the past 50 years, at least a dozen visitors have vanished within the park under mysterious circumstances, leaving behind abandoned equipment, personal items, or partially eaten meals, yet no human remains. In the spring of 2018, a group of 3 friends, Daniel, Rachel, and Miguel, set out on a 4-day backpacking trip through Shadow Creek. They were avid hikers in their mid-20s, well-prepared with GPS, topographic maps, and supplies, confident in their ability to navigate the wilderness. Their plan was to follow the Shadow Creek Trail, a 30-mile loop winding along the creek, over cliffs and through dense, old-growth forest. The first day was uneventful, almost idyllic. The sun dappled the forest floor, birdsong echoed through the pines, and the creek sparkled in the late afternoon light. The friends filmed their progress for a vlog, joking and laughing as they set up camp near a small waterfall. But by the second day, subtle anomalies began to appear. At one point, Daniel noticed that the trail markers seemed to have shifted. A marker they had passed hours earlier now appeared ahead, as if they were looping back on themselves. Rachel and Miguel dismissed it as misreading the trail, but Daniel, experienced in navigation, felt uneasy. That evening, as they made camp near a creek bend, they heard strange sounds, faint whispers carried by the wind, too coherent to be random rustling. "Turn back! Leave!" Miguel laughed nervously, probably a prank or the wind messing with our minds. But Rachel's face turned pale. "It wasn't the wind, I heard it. Someone calling my name." The 3 brushed it off, but tension settled in. Around midnight, they were startled awake by a series of low, rhythmic thuds outside the tent. The sound moved around their campsite, approaching from the trees, then retreating, almost in a circular pattern. Daniel grabbed his flashlight, sweeping the surrounding area, but saw nothing. The night air felt colder, heavier, as if the forest itself had contracted around them. By the morning of the 3rd day, Daniel noticed something truly disturbing. Their footprints from the previous day had vanished,
The soil along the trail was undisturbed, though they were certain they had walked that exact route. The creek's edge bore no marks from their previous camp. It was as if they had never been there. Ignoring the unease, the friends continued along the trail, keeping an eye out for wildlife or signs of other hikers. But soon, Miguel spotted something that froze him in place. Across the creek, partially hidden behind a thick cluster of pines, was a campsite. Freshly built, a small fire smoldered in the pit, and hiking packs lay nearby, but there was no one around. Curious and cautious, they approached. The scene was pristine, almost unnaturally so, yet small details made them uneasy. The packpacks were arranged symmetrically, utensils laid out perfectly, and the fire pit contained small bones, not human but unidentifiable, placed deliberately. Rachel whispered, "This doesn't feel right. Why would anyone leave like this?" Daniel shivered. "We need to keep moving. Something's off." They pressed on, but the forest seemed to resist them. Trails twisted and converged in impossible ways. Rocks and trees shifted subtly. Birds that should have been active at dawn were silent, the forest unnervingly still. By late afternoon, the friends realized they had walked in a complete loop. They were back at the same campsite they had set up 2 days ago. Daniel's GPS now displayed an impossible reading, coordinates that suggested they were in multiple locations at once, the compass spinning erratically. Miguel muttered, "I think we're not in the park anymore." As night fell, they decided to set up camp again, despite the creeping fog that rolled through the trees. Around 1:45 a.m., the whispers returned, louder, more urgent. Daniel recorded them on his GoPro, dozens of voices overlapping, echoing in multiple directions, some pleading, some threatening. "Join us! Never leave! Lost!" The whispers seemed to emanate from the fog, which thickened and began to swirl around their tents. Shadows moved within the fog, elongated, humanoid, sometimes crouching low, sometimes standing impossibly tall. Their shapes were distorted, flickering in and out of view. Then the first disappearance occurred. Miguel woke to find Rachel's side of the tent empty. He called her name. Only whispers answered. Daniel grabbed his flashlight, scanning the fog, but it revealed nothing except shifting shadows. Minutes later, the tent flaps were yanked violently, nearly dragging Daniel into the fog. He fought back, holding on to the tent pole with all his strength. From within the fog, he glimpsed a figure, Rachel, or something that looked like her, but her eyes were wide, unnaturally pale, and her limbs appeared elongated. The figure reached for him, moving in ways no human could. Daniel screamed, grabbing Miguel, who had regained his senses. Together, they tore down the tent and fled along the trail. But the forest itself seemed to warp, paths folding back on themselves, trees rearranging, fog thickening with every step. Around 3 a.m., they reached a cliff overlooking Shadow Creek. Below, the creek looked wrong, still, unnaturally black, reflecting nothing of the sky or forest. And standing at the edge was Rachel, or a figure indistinguishable from her, staring blankly at the water. Daniel called out, but the figure didn't respond. It turned slowly, revealing a face twisted with despair and terror, then dissipated into the fog as if it had never existed. The 2 remaining friends scrambled down the cliff to a safer trail, hiking until exhaustion forced them to rest at first light. When rangers found them later that day, they were disoriented, dehydrated, and shaking. They insisted Rachel had vanished, describing the surreal events of the night. Authorities found the campsite exactly as Daniel and Miguel described. No footprints except their own. No signs of Rachel. No evidence of wildlife. And a small fire pit containing strange bones, identical to what the friends had seen the previous night. The official explanation: lost hikers, exposure, disorientation. But locals know better. Whispering Pines is notorious for bending the forest, confusing and trapping travelers. Those who vanish are rarely seen again. Rachel Anders remains missing to this day, and her disappearance is the most recent of many in the park. The local legend persists. Shadow Creek is alive, sentient, and hungry, and the forest itself decides who leaves and who is claimed.